That was a fact they showed us on day one of OTAs that the Dolphins' last playoff win was 2000. So that's the longest drought at any NFL team. So for us, it's like we're taking it personal to change that.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey. None other than your host, former NFL lineman Ross Tucker.
Oh yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday, presented, of course, as always, by DraftKings. It's time. It's here. Every team will be full squad in training camp by the end of this week, as I tweeted yesterday at Ross Tucker NFL, which is where I'm at on social media everywhere. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. There will be more actual NFL news this week than the last 2 months combined. Very fired up for this week. I'll be having a lot more Ross reports now for you Eagles fans out there, now that they'll be back in training camp. I have a great guest today, Jack Driscoll, trying to start at guard for the Miami Dolphins. Feels like I've been like the unofficial show of the Miami Dolphins this offseason. Raheem Mostert, Teron Armstead. Jack could have an important role with the Miami Dolphins this year. And then there's already some pretty important news to get to. But let's start with Jack Driscoll. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Well, always fun to be joined by a fellow offensive lineman. Always fun to be joined by a current player in the NFL the day before he reports for training camp. I got to be honest with you, Jack. Like, that sounds horrible. I don't miss that. There's a lot of things I miss about playing football. I don't miss the idea of going to training camp tomorrow at all. Like, not even a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It is, as training camp's a grind. It's going to be, intense. It's hot down here, but you know how it is. It's important for team bonding, important to get those reps in that you can log and then take that with you. For me, coming into a new system, OTAs helped a lot. Kind of starting to learn the technique, all that, learn all the nuances of the offense. And like I said, really looking forward to training camp to, really hone my craft and get ready to go for the season.
Yeah, well, and that's the attitude you have to have. And interestingly, as much as I dreaded training camp, right? Because and by the way, you guys have it a lot easier than we did, but
Yeah.
it's still the hardest part of the year.
Mhm.
In a weird way, Jack. So I was always either competing for a starting spot or a roster spot. So the years when I knew I was going to be on the team, that's when I had a chance to start. When the years I didn't have a chance to start, that's when I was like, oh, I better make sure I'm on the team, right? And I actually wanted training camp to be as hard as possible because I actually thought that was like my advantage over the other guys, mentally and physically toughness. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
No, 100%. I mean, that's the camp. I feel like you got to look for the silver lining. Like you said, it's long days, it's long hours, it's hot down here, but yeah, camp is one of those times where, like you said, some guys are competing for a starting job. Some guys are just trying to, get a spot, on the roster, 53 minutes. Some guys are trying to get piece squad. So for everyone, it's like, everyone's playing for something different. I always think, and whatever it is, it's like, you got to put all the bull crap aside and just, grind, because it's going to be hard, but it's hard for everyone. It's hard for all the guys around the league. And yeah, to your point, it is nice we don't have 2 days anymore. I mean, you guys paved the lane for that one, but yeah, no, like you gotta make all the reps count. A lot of what they talk about O-line masterminds. We're down there too. Like, we're not getting a million full padded reps anymore because you're not having 2 or 3 practices a day. So the reps you get, you might only get a certain amount of reps. And as too, you're being evaluated on every single one. So you gotta make them count. And if you mess up, just next play mentality.
That's actually a really good point. You don't get as many opportunities on some level as well. It was great finally getting a chance to meet you at the O-Line Masterminds event. I've done your preseason games for the Eagles since you've been in the NFL, and I do the pregame on the radio. So I've watched basically every snap you've played. Really interesting career. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but didn't you surprisingly out of nowhere start the opener your rookie year first game and nobody knew it was coming? Am I making that up or is that true?
No, that was true. That was true. That was yeah, it was pretty short notice on the first game on that. It was Washington 2020. And the thing with that year too is we didn't have preseason. So that was really like first NFL, first stage of the NFL. And it was weird too not having any fans in the stands, but I mean, you know how it is too, especially in that room we had in Philly was, every guy was expected to be, ready to go at all times. And, for me, I didn't want to let my teammates down. So, I always kind of think you prepare like you're the starter, no matter if you're the top guy on the depth chart, the bottom guy in practice squad, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter then, when your number does get called, you'll be ready to go.
How did that? I don't remember like the exact. Obviously, there was injuries or something, but it was like when the inactives came out that people realized there was like a couple of you guys starting that kind of out of nowhere. And I guess because there was no preseason games and no reporters at training camp, nobody really knew that you guys that the offensive line had gotten banged up during camp. Right? Walk me through that again.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely weird because, like you said, there were no reporters. There was, it was really, like you said, it was the first NFL experience, so I didn't really know what to expect. And then obviously, now you go to training camp and there's a million reporters, there's a million, beat writers and all that stuff. But yeah, we had some injuries early on during camp, and it was kind of like, we weren't sure if guys were going to play. We had done scrimmages at camp, or it kind of replaced the preseason games. So I was kind of like, okay, there's a chance I could play. There's a chance I could start. So I went into it kind of thinking like, okay, we'll see what happens during how it is too. Some guys are questionable. They go through pregame warmups and whatnot. So I said, well, ultimately when they told me my number was being called, I was just like, okay, time to go. I got nothing going out there. I got nothing to lose, and go give my all.
Wow, that is wild, man. I mean, you went from 2-star to UMass to starting an NFL game like quick. That was like a quick
Yeah,
transition.
that was a welcome to the NFL moment right there. That was being thrown fire. Yeah,
unbelievable. So, I met you last week for the first time at O-Line Masterminds, and I think you said that was your first time there as well. Just curious, your reasoning for going and kind of what you took from it.
yeah. I know. I trained at Lanes for a couple of years with Gabe, his trainer, and whatnot, and they'd always talked about it, and it kind of had not worked out with the dates. And then this year, I was kind of like, you know what? Like, I really want to go. I'm in a new system. I think I could use any, tidbits for technique, all that kind of stuff. So I reached out, and I was excited because I know Duke does a great job with all those guys down there and putting it on. I always see videos of it, and I'm always bummed I didn't go. So I'm like, this year we're making an effort to go, make a point to go, clear the schedule, and it worked out. And it was great. I don't know about you, but I feel like I took a lot from it. A lot of great players, a lot of great perspectives on it. And it was just cool to, talk to guys around the league and just, pick their brain. Hey, what were you thinking here? What are you thinking here? And, just kind of get a bunch of guys who are all on the same page in the same room. I think it's a great idea. I know like tight ends are doing it. I know there's the sack summit was the week before. So it's kind of a really cool concept that, positions around the league are starting to do.
My biggest takeaway from it, and I already knew this, Jack, but there's a lot of different ways to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 9 offensive line coaches during my NFL career, and I wish I was a good enough player or confident enough that I could have said to some of them, like, this is how I have to do it. Like, this is how I want to do it. Because I'd be curious how things would have been different, if at all, right? I don't know. Maybe I would have been worse. 100%. I don't know. But when you have that many offensive line coaches, unless you're like a top half of the league starter, you really kind of got to do what the coach is asking you to do. And now that I look at it, I know just how short my arms are, and I know about different body types, and I hear the different guys talk about their different techniques. Like, I know what was best for me, and I know what I was able to do at a decent level. And I wish I would have just kept doing that and told the other offensive line coaches, like, Coach, I have so much respect for you and your techniques. I have 31-inch arms. I have to jump these guys. I have to. But when you're in your 20s and you're in that position,
you're fighting for a job.
To please that guy.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. And that is, I think, definitely one thing I took away from it too, is there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know what I mean? I mean, there's, you look at guys who were presenting who had 30s, like being in Philly. I can't go do the same thing Jordan Milano's doing. You know what I mean? He's got, 37-inch arms. He's 6'8", but that doesn't mean that I can't get the job done either. You know what I mean? Like you said, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I think that was cool too, to hear all those different perspectives from guys who use different techniques and, played a long time in the league.
I'm actually excited for you in Miami because I think it's a really good system for your skill set. You're athletic, you have good feet, you move well, you have a really good initial burst. I know Stout really likes the vertical set, and I think that works really well for Mailata and Lane. And obviously you did well with it as well. That would not have been me, man. Like I was a close the distance as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Jump set, get to him as soon as I can, because for me, with short arms and not weighing 340, the more time that guy had before we engaged, the speed to power was just a problem at that point.
Sorry, I mean, that's like, they said too, that's past week. Those guys are getting paid too. You know what I mean? They're getting paid, they're on contract too. So yeah, it is, you get guys, for us, shorter arms, to sit back, and then at guard, at tackle, you have a little bit of room to work with, because you're getting deep, but the quarterback's kind of, guard, it's right on top of you now. You got to be firm and you got to be stout, because ultimately, if that quarterback's not taking a deep drop and you start getting bull rush, like you're right on his lap. And yeah, for sure. I'm excited to be Miami. Coach Barry's an awesome coach. It's been, it's great working with him during OTAs. And a lot more jump sets, a lot more aggressive, get on them. Like you said, cut the space, get on them quick and sit, and use the anchor. And yeah.
So let's talk, Jack, about, you said you've been training the last couple of years with Lane. What's that like? Because I've seen that guy work out. I've seen what he looks like with his shirt off. Is it like inspiring, or is there ever any part of it that you're like, come on, dude?
No, Lane's a beast. Like I said, I trained at his house with Gabe, and Lane was there on and off. But just anytime you work out with Lane, Lane's a freak of nature, and there's a reason why he's been so successful in the league for so long. At a heart, vertical setting, and just, they were showing all the tape at the O-line masterminds, all the great pass rushers he's able to, really negate on a weekly basis. He's so strong, he's so athletic. And one thing with Lane, he's always taking care of his body. He's always strengthening, little muscles and all that. So it's, it's one of those things you're like, dang, you think you have a good set of squat, you're like, oh, you're feeling good. Yeah. Just put like, 455, 500 up, and then you just see Lane easily throw another plate on, to start repping. You're like, dang, but it's good. You got to chase someone, you know what I mean? It's always good when you lift with people who are stronger than you, because you know how it is. It pushes you to be, elevate your, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're running, jumping, lifting, just, pushes you to elevate.
Right. And remember this, there's a lot of people that would work out with you that you would be the Lane, right? Like it's all relative.
It's all perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. My workouts now are 12-ounce curls with Labatt blue lights with my friends and family, living life to the power of we, while Jack is kicking butt in training camp. Always enjoy responsibly beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. You went from UMass to Auburn, and this is no knock on UMass, but I just am curious, what was that like for you going from UMass to Auburn? Because obviously two very different football atmospheres.
100%. I really, my time at UMass, those are some of my best friends for life. Played a lot of football there. I was able to, I redshirted my first year, then graduated in 3 years. So I had 2 years of eligibility left. And, I just, wanted to go test myself and try, to compete at the highest level I could. And, for me, that was playing the SEC. And I know Auburn was a place that, you're going to be playing the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Georgias, I just felt like it was, I wanted to go test, and compete. That's one thing. You hear a lot of guys talk this past week at O-line mastermind. It's all about competing. So for me, like I said, I was able to get my MBA from Auburn too, which was big. Auburn, the atmosphere is crazy. It's definitely, in the South, there's not, pro football up here is huge. Whether it's Patriots, Giants, Bills, Eagles, people are pretty diehard. Down south, they're not, but it's really revolves around college. Georgia, Bama, LSU, Ole Miss, all of them, Auburn. So it's cool to see that environment where really the whole college on Saturdays it shuts down and it is all Auburn football, and it was a lot of fun. Played with a lot of great players, got to play against a lot of great players on a weekly basis and daily basis in practice. So I'm telling you, it really helped me get ready for the next level.
Yeah, that's so cool that you got that experience, number one. And number two, the fact that you made the point to graduate in 3 years and you get your MBA, man, you are absolutely doing it right. What talk to me about this Dolphins opportunity. What's it looking like for you? I know you signed a 1-year deal there. What are you weighing? What do they want you to weigh? I think people would be interested just to hear how it's different from team to team.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, just there's a couple opening spots. Just compete and see what happens. Is my thing. Is go in there, whatever they ask me to do the best of my ability, and let the cards fall how they fall. For me right now, I'm about 305. That was a thing for Philly. I was trying to always be on the heavier side, but Miami with kind of the scheme we run, and all that, they don't mind being a little bit lighter, which I feel like for me, to your point earlier, helps me a little. Definitely helps me a little. Not having to carry all that weight. So my top weight is around like 310. So I don't want to get too much above that. I don't want to get above that. And yeah, for me, I take pride in be versatile, being able to play multiple positions because, that's the key to sticking around the league because they only dress 7 or 8 guys in a game. So, if you do the math, someone's got to play more than one position. So, yeah, no, just go out there and, whatever I can do to help this team win, our goal game, now we're the longest team. What we were told was the longest team without a playoff win in the NFL. So, we're going in there and trying to, change that, really get the ball rolling.
Wow. Who said that to you? That's interesting. I would never have thought that.
That was a fact they showed us on day one of OTAs that the Dolphins last playoff win was 2000. So, and that's the longest drought at any NFL team. So, for us, it's like we're taking it personal to, change that. We want to be a team that, turns around and, gets the win, gets some wins in January and February.
Wow, that's wild. I think you have a great chance to do that, of course. What would you say kind of overall about your time in Philly, Jack, and in particular, Coach Stoutland?
Oh, Stout was great. I feel like Stout has helped me become such a much better player than I was coming out of college. Just being in the room with guys like Kelsey, Lane, Jason Peters, Brandon Brooks, Isaac Salmalu, Landon, Jordan, all those guys, and then Stout on top of it. I know that I wouldn't be the player I am today without them. And, the one thing is in that room, there's, just like in the room in Miami, there's a high standard and, it's your job to live up to it, and that was the one thing definitely, I would say one of the things I definitely took from Philly was being accountable. And like, again, when you're called on, you don't want to go in there and be the reason why you can't run certain things or why you're not winning the game or whatnot. So, Stout always did a great job of making sure we were all ready to go. Because you know how it is, especially in the O-line, guys are going down, guys get fallen on, and you just never know. So, Stout's, was great, and I'm really enjoying my time in Philly, and nothing but great things to say about the organization and the city itself.
It's interesting because they usually, Jack, they try to, it seems like all those guys you just named are like monsters, right? like it seems like
Some
they
big
try
dudes.
to,
Yeah.
they try to draft like straight up monsters, or like Jurgens or Kelsey, who were just like the fact that they drafted you in the 4th round, that says a lot about you, I feel like, because you're not a physical marvel like those other guys are. You are smart, athletic, tough. But I mean, they must have really liked you to take you in the 4th round without you having that one crazy physical characteristic, whatever it is.
Yeah. And, to your point earlier is when you're in a room with those guys, you kind of got to look around and say, what's going to be how am I going to make it here? Because I'm not 6'7" with 38.5-inch arms and, a 7-foot wingspan. So what can I do that can make me hang around here? And, you learn from you take something from each guy, but for me, I think, part of the reason I was able to play was being versatile, being able to play multiple positions, kind of go in there with a screw it mindset. Whatever they ask the team asks me to do, I'm going to go in there and do it to the best of my ability. That's one thing I've always believed in is to be, a successful football player. and team in general is just have those kind of selfless guys who will go in there. And is it going to be perfect all the time? No, but someone's got to do it. And yeah, I just kind of embraced every day, worked hard, competed, and yeah, just really tried to do my best and learn to, be, like I said, I don't have that one major attribute, but be really good with my technique, be really good with my feet, my timing, all that stuff. You don't have to be the biggest and strongest to do that.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for you in Miami with this opportunity. You're still on a good team. They went to the playoffs last year, so it's not like you went to a bad team. There's no state income tax in Florida, which is always a nice thing as well. Yeah. I'm sure your new bride probably likes South Florida as well. So you got a lot of great things going on, man. And you will the rest of your career and after your career. Just the fact that you graduated in 3 years, got your MBA, like I would already bet on you in your post-football career, whatever it is, because you're just that type of person. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys having me, for real. It means a lot.
Tux Takes.
All right, Ross. The Saints, they put Pro Bowl right tackle Ryan Ramczyk on the reserve PUP, which is ending his season before it even started, unfortunately.
Right. I think this is significant enough, Jack. There might be other stuff that happens later in the week, but I'm still going to make this my Labatt take, presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together so you can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. There's two sides of this, right? Let's start with the Ryan Ramczyk side personally. Really disappointing, right? I mean, I think it would probably be an upset or a surprise if he ever comes back to play football again. You heard rumors of this back in March and April, and now in July, they're already ruling him out for the entire season. That does not sound good at all, obviously, about his knee, which is a real shame because it felt like he was on a path to have an amazing career and maybe be a guy that gets some Hall of Fame mention with the path he had been on until these knee issues, which stinks. Then for the Saints, boy, I mean, this is a major problem. You draft Fuaga in the first round. He's a right tackle. You move him to left. We'll see how that goes. It looks like they'll have Trevor Penning, the first-round pick from a few years ago at right tackle, who got benched last year. Both tackles are very much unproven, very much question marks, and that's extremely discomforting and concerning if you're a Saints fan going into a season.
Sticking in New Orleans, they signed wide receiver kick returner Rashid Shaheed to a 1-year, $5.2 million extension.
So that's interesting because, Shaheed was an undrafted free agent. So he signed a 2-year deal. So he was actually this offseason an exclusive rights free agent, which, by the way, I was at one point as well. So just because your contract expires after 2 years, if you only have 2 years of service, you're not really a free agent at all. Your team has your exclusive rights. And then even after this year, he would have been a restricted free agent in 2025. I think the Saints and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, kind of did the right thing here and said, you know what, this guy is electric. This guy's a difference-making player. We love him. We don't want to pay him more really than we have to. What's the number for now? What would be the number for the restricted free agent tender? Let's give him that extension now and guarantee it and reward him a little bit without having to pay more than we otherwise would have. I thought that was a nice move by Mickey Loomis and the Saints.
We got a couple departures. Randall Cobb, he signed with SEC Network to be a studio analyst, but he has not ruled out a 14th season in the NFL. Shaq Barrett, the pass rusher, he retires after on his family, and Commanders president Jason Wright is leaving the team after this season.
That's interesting. I didn't know if Josh Harris would keep Jason Wright or not, but he was a Dan Snyder guy. Harris wants to bring in his own guy to run the team, which is understandable. Shaq Barrett, I think it's pretty well documented, has had some really, really traumatic and difficult family circumstances over the last year or so. So it certainly makes sense for him to want to focus on his family. And Randall Cobb, I would not be surprised if somebody signs him at some point this year if they feel like they need a reliable slot receiver with an injury or so. Kudos to him for kind of having the next thing ready and have another job, even if he doesn't even get this job. So what a wonderful career, by the way. 13 years is awesome. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. Man, it's so cool. I was actually with my mom and sister yesterday, and we were talking about the My Front Page story we got her, and I mean, she just raves about it. Now, maybe it's because that's her personality or because it's a business I'm involved in, but it's still cool. Either way, myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com,